When I first migrated to Western Australia, I got invited to participate in these visits to the Kimberley, and so my first visit to the Kimberley was within 2 months of migrating to Australia, and to be honest, it was a bit of a shock. I didn't realise how prevalent chronic ear disease was in Aboriginal children. Australia still has the highest incidence of Indigenous ear disease on the planet, and it really should be considered a national priority.
So if you're talking about hearing loss in general, I had a look the other day, and of the kids that were tested in school, it was about 40% had some sort of hearing loss, around about.
It can't be emphasised sufficiently how important that window of 6 to 18 months is for speech and language development, and you're looking at children who English may not be their first language. If you don't develop proper speech and language, then you end up at school where the teachers have difficulty teaching you, and you start at school already behind the 8 ball. Children need to have positive classroom experiences. If you've got a significant hearing loss, it's very difficult to have a positive classroom experience. So school becomes less important to these children, and if you never have a positive classroom experience, then as soon as you can, you stop going.
I think there's plenty of anecdotal evidence and documented evidence that children's ear health is vital to their learning from a very, very young age. So constant checks and regular supervision of their ear health is shown to enable them to have better hearing, and so of course a better learning pathway as a young child.
The language really is developed by the age of 3. Those skills aren't there because of ear disease and conductive hearing loss, then it's such a challenge to get it back.
So, you don't know what's wrong. You're talking to your kid, and it's, they're all over the shop and stuff like that, and you don't know what it is, and then until you get an ear infection or something, start to realise like you can't keep getting ear infections over and over, and then you start to think, maybe I should get the ears tested and checked.
The INEA Surgical Support Service is funded by the Australian Government Department of Health. It is available for Aboriginal people living in country WA to access eye and ear surgical support, and so that they have care that's closer to home for them. So recently we've provided outreach clinics throughout West Kimberley, and we've been supported in doing that by the team at WAX Kimberley. And we have provided clinics for patients from Fitzroy Crossing, from Fitzroy Valley and Luma, and they have the clinics have been to identify those that need surgical intervention, and then we've provided the surgical blitz in Derby for those patients.
Because most of these communities are not frequently visited by our regular hospital visits, so that's when we have 4 trips to the Fitzroy Valley, and we got 4 trips per year to the East Kimberley. So that's when we've got the ear health coordinator involved, and they go out to the community and see these patients. It's a team visit. We've got the audiologist, the nurse, the ear health coordinator, and the ENT consultants, so they'll go out to different communities.
Yeah. So we know that in the Kimberley region that there's a high proportion of ear disease, so it's really important that we have the ability to come out here and help people living in this region. So this is part of an ENT blitz. We've been fortunate to operate on about 8 patients a day over the past couple of days. Yeah, so yesterday we had a couple of things going on. We had a clinic running where we saw lots of patients, and we also had an operating theatre running as well. So this trip mainly focuses on ear disease and the management of ear disease. So we put in quite a few grommets to manage middle ear effusions and problems with hearing, and we also repaired some eardrums as well.
If you do live in Derby and you have to go to Perth, you have to do a 2-hour drive first or to get there, and then you have to catch a plane to get there, or if you're in one of the communities, you're getting to your nearest town, then catching a bus, doing all these travel just to get to have one appointment, and it might be a 15-20 minute consult, or it could be a procedure depending on what it is, but all of that travel for that. just allowing people to be seen.
To be seen
at
and
home.
treated closer to home,
Yeah.
and not having to travel a long distance trip for them, and it's safe for
They
them.
know their environment, they feel comfortable, which, they may open up a bit more. They know people that are already in the clinic, so nothing like a familiar face.
With all Indigenous culture, it's actually well acknowledged that the more familiar they are with you, the more comfortable they are to come and see you from a health point of view.
About 7 years ago, when Rural Health West started doing these outreach trips, and I started working closer with the communities and the families of individuals, then we started talking to families more and more, and eventually they got to recognise my face. We went to this community in May, and we had our regular people there, and that's important to have, that we check, but we're always looking for new people with the problems who don't always present to clinics, because some people are a bit wary, or they may have just moved to the community. So we had this particular lady who we saw, and she goes, "Oh yeah, I'll go and get my grandson, I'll bring him over." So she came across, and then the mum came at the same time, her daughter, and then they're going, "Well, we'll go and get this people as well." And then before you know it, we had this sort of 7 or 8 extra people, and I think from them, 4 of them actually needed surgical intervention. So if we had have just left it as it was, they may not have gotten seen, they may not get that surgical intervention. It is really important to get that word of mouth and trust.
I recommend that the same people come each time. They know you'll to explain yourself all over again to a new person. And I found that really hard, and I just think that the same people make it better. And they know your journey, and they know what's required the next time around. And the kids love it too, they build a rapport with the folks, and they know them, and they have a little relationship.
Our hope through these programs is that the timely access to care will have flow-on effect for employment and educational outcomes for these patients.
From what I have seen, the students that do get tested, suddenly the engagement goes, I'm not going to say suddenly, they're an A model student, but they are more receptive to help and assistance, and working with their peers and working with the teacher.
And it's only really in the past 12 months that I've returned to the Kimberley to work, and I think that the difference is astounding. When I first came to the Kimberley, it seemed that at least every other child had pus running out of their ears, and now unless you arrive in a community when they're being affected by a virus, there are far fewer children with discharging ears.
It's made an improvement pretty much straight away as soon as he got his grommets, so he's just started, and his voice and the words and the pronunciation and everything's been good. Ever since Samaj could start to hear a lot more, he's been so much better around, at home, around the families and stuff. And even learning, just little things, it makes a big difference. In the community or in this area where ear problems are a big thing, a must for each and every child, just to have a check even if there isn't anything wrong, and just following through with it, because it is so important for the kids learning everything.
I think there's a combination of feeling great joy but also feeling great sadness that there are some people we don't get to see, and I know that there's lots more ear disease out there that unfortunately we're not able to get to, but for the patients that we do see, it does bring great joy that we're able to hopefully improve their life and improve their ability to hear and improve their ability to connect with their culture, because from what I understand, Aboriginal culture is about storytelling, it's about listening to your elders, it's about passing those stories on through generations, and if you can't hear, then you can't do that.